AI is colonizing us. Yes, you too. And it might not be on purpose, but it's turning us all American. Hi, I'm Brenda, and I'll be your waitress for tonight. If you've ever been to America, you know that tone. It's cheerful, a little bit too friendly, and quite hysterical. To summarize, it's America. Now imagine that same tone in a Dutch email or in a Korean government letter or in a French family message. It just doesn't fit. Now here's a sentence I've seen AI produce in Dutch. Je was hier niet op voorbereid, maar dit verandert alles. Which means in English, you weren't prepared for this, but this changes everything. The Dutch AI version is not grammatically wrong, but in Dutch, it sounds super artificial. We just wouldn't say it like that. We just write, je was hier niet op voorbereid, maar dit verandert alles. Just one sentence, with a comma. Less drama. And with AI, you see the same thing happening in other languages. The grammar checks out, but the tone feels off. That's because the model doesn't just translate what you say, it brings in a tone it's learned elsewhere. And more often than not, that tone is American. Most large language models, like Gemini and ChatGPT, are trained on internet texts. The majority of those texts are in English, and much of that comes from US platforms. Reddit, Wikipedia, tech blogs, LinkedIn posts, customer service pages. So even when you ask for Dutch or Spanish or Bengali, you still get that tone. Helpful, overly confident, and way too enthusiastic. That tone slips through even in your own language. Tone isn't just a stylistic choice. It's cultural. It reflects how people in your country write, speak, and relate to each other. How we show trust or disagreement or care. And when that gets replaced with an American generic tone, we lose something. You lose your own rhythm, your own linguistic instincts. The risk is that over time, cultures with a smaller online footprint disappear from the output, and languages that aren't being widely written online are flattened into generic constructs. And a large part of the world gets represented through someone else's cultural lens. Stanford's evaluation of large language models in 2023 found a sharp drop in quality for lower resource languages, not just in accuracy, but in tone and in nuance. Even OpenAI says it themselves. Performance is highly correlated with the amount of training data available online, which means that if your culture is not visible in the data, it's not visible in the output. My family is from Aruba, which is a small island in the Caribbean. It's not like nothing's been written by us or about us online, but it's just not that much because there's not that many of us. A lot of the content about Aruba is aimed at tourists because that's what our economy is based on. So when I ask AI to write something in an Aruban tone, it has no clue what to do. It will give me most of the time something that's based on tourism websites, clean and friendly and inviting. And we are all those things, but we are way more than all those things. And the intricacy of our culture is there, it's just not online enough. There's a fix to some of this. When you ask AI to write in your own language, this is what I do. I ask it to write it culturally Dutch, specifically when I write in Dutch, and I also ask it to make it unrecognizable as a translation for a native speaker. Now, this helps mitigate a lot of this, but definitely not all of this, and definitely not for smaller communities that are less online or less published about and by online, simply because we're not represented in the data. So if you are using AI to write your text for you, keep that in mind and pay attention to when your tone drifts to the generic American tone. Because over time, if enough of us adjust to that tone, we will start losing something of our cultural expression. This is not just a technical issue. It is a cultural one. If we don't address it, we're all going to end up being a little bit like Brenda.